Welcome back to theCUBE, broadcasting live here from the New York Stock Exchange. This is our AI Factories Week. And one area that's under a lot of pressure right now, getting a lot of talk, is the impact of AI on education. Joining me today, I have James Kellerhouse, Assistant Vice Chancellor and Executive Director, overseeing strategic initiatives at Vanderbilt University. Welcome, James.
Great, thanks so much for having us here today. Really appreciate it.
So, education is the backbone to every society, right?
Absolutely.
We're in a place right now where the future feels a little bit ambiguous. No one really can project the road ahead, as hard as we try. What we do know is that we need smart people and we need to build tomorrow's leaders.
Absolutely.
Vanderbilt, a university with a long time reputation, very strong brand, very strong name. I want to talk a little about the tech and the innovation, but first, tell me about the mission. Tell me about the journey you guys have been on.
Great.
And some of the exciting news you have ahead.
No, happy to. So, as you mentioned, higher education, it's an evolving market these days. And Vanderbilt University is actually in this growth mode. That's really unlike many of the universities today. So we have just positioned ourselves well from a position of strength in this motto, but it's more than a motto, it's sort of a mindset that we have is dare to grow. So during this time, we are looking at multi-campus investment. So New York City actually being one of our first, our first extension campus outside of Nashville. For us, the future of higher education is about ensuring our students and our faculty, our research and scholarship are all at the nexus of where industry is coming together in incredible sectors like tech, AI, fintech, arts, media, consulting. Nashville is a phenomenal city. It's where we've been for 150 years, but where we want to be for our students and for our faculty are these other locations. So you look at like West Palm Beach, where investing has really come onto the scene. We're looking at a location there. You look at San Francisco, and we look at the arts and AI there as well. So
wow.
That's where we're growing. The other thing I'd add is that in this time, we just launched our first college within the university in the last 40 years. It's the College for Connected Computing. And for us, we know that technology and computing is a part of everything. It's really interdisciplinary in nature. So our students will have that opportunity to have those majors and minors that really bridge across STEM, arts and sciences, computing, data analytics, data science, information technology, the ethical use of data today, which is so important for us.
I mean, New York is a fantastic city. As somebody who's been here
place.
13 years, it's an expensive city though, right? And it's like, sometimes a chaotic city, but
Sure.
as a university experience, it's pretty phenomenal, as I'm sure is Nashville.
It is.
I'm not going to be too New Yorker on you here, but tell me, when you think about alignment and like culture and city alignment in particular, is there any kind of specific like industry angle for this? Is it, you're looking to grow more into the finance space or into, even though we're bringing Silicon Valley to Wall Street, right? But I think the world of tech and finance is there's a lot of convergence. But what led the decision?
So the decision for us, so outside of Nashville, New York City has actually the home of most of our alumni. 8,000 alumni live in the Metro New York area. Many of them are leaders actually in technology, in investing, banking, consulting, that space. Our students were coming here after graduation as well. They were looking for those internship experiences. So the program we're launching in New York is all about industry. On the undergraduate level, students will come, they will participate in a capstone or industry internship while they're here in their third or fourth year. And our Masters of Science in Business and Tech program is a full-time program with 9 of those credits being a capstone with industry alignment as well. So the idea is to get our students to contribute to the talent pipeline, to get our researchers and our faculty also in the innovation ecosystem to be contributing in this way. They've been doing it in Nashville for a long time, and now it's time for Vanderbilt to be actually coming home to New York. That's where Vanderbilt was from.
Know, right?
Right? So actually for us, it's a coming home moment.
The flywheel effect, I guess, that has a strong city alignment. Tell me about the expectations of students. Like when I think back of my college experience, I had floppy disks, right? Like it was a different world. I'm sure things are changing so rapidly, and my perception is that students expect the same experience, that digital first, digitally native, seamless experience, whether they're ordering food on Uber Eats or they're learning, right?
Yeah.
How do you guys think for that and plan for that? Like how do their expectations drive your strategic planning?
Sure. So tech forward is in everything that we do now in the student experience. It's how we're building out the campus. So when I think about how it applies to specifically what we're doing here in New York City, from how it's academic, sort of seamlessly of the academic program, students, everything from how they register for classes, apply for financial aid, all that needs to be an extension of what we're doing in Nashville, to how they order food. Classrooms today need to have state-of-the-art AV. Students are doing podcasts. Students are broadcasting themselves really around the globe. So they expect that experience as well. And then, of course, on their tablets, on their laptops, smartphones, they all have to move seamlessly in and out of our ecosystem, whether they're in Nashville or they're in New York, or they're going to their internship site. In addition, the proficiency that they need to have, right, to work with big data sets, to be able to, analyze data quickly, contribute to the research that they're doing, maybe they're in their internship, to contribute to the coursework, to be effective in the marketplace moving forward is critical. So making sure that they're graduated with that proficiency, but not just the proficiency, but then the ethical use of data. And I mean, that's where we're at today, right? There's so much at our fingertips. How do we make sure that our students, our graduates, are meaningfully and ethically contributing to and growing, in their careers in that
Tell
way?
me about the access point. Are your students mostly on campus? Are they doing some remote learning?
Right.
And how do you plan for that too? Hopefully we will never have another 2020, right? But who knows? I think it was a big learning for everybody, especially for education.
Absolutely.
Tell me about the way in which students access content, curriculum, communities. Is that becoming more and more online, and remote?
It is absolutely more and more online. So you see university libraries really becoming convening spaces. Very few books now, sort of those textbooks that, I would say, right, to bring in their laptops, right? It's bringing their technology in. It's being able to access the systems, the periodicals, the research that they need to access. Classrooms need to be outfitted for that hybrid learning environment. Even though I will say at Vanderbilt, our undergraduate students do not participate in online. We don't deliver online curriculum in the undergraduate program. We feel very strongly about that classroom experience, that coming together collaboratively in that environment does something for our students to learn and grow from one another, get disparate ideas, and really move through and have a vibrant life after. And our graduate program, though, it's absolutely hybrid. I mean, these students are students, they're working often, they need a little bit more flexibility in the space. And so all of our spaces need to be outfitted for that. And who knows? God knows we don't have another COVID challenge. But in that environment, now it's about broadcasting too, right?
Yeah.
It's about creating content.
Storytelling. So powerful,
right?
though.
Absolutely.
It's actually so interesting to hear the students are doing that. I love that, though, because I love the level of improvisation and self-belief it brings as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell me about the challenges. Like when I think back on my own university experience, one of my biggest fears is that you'd go to the library to take a piece from a journal and the page would be ripped out, right? Back then, that's how, very competitive students would cheat you out of a win, right? Nowadays, in terms of the online space, it is just so wildly different in such a short space of time.
Right.
What areas do you, really concern you guys? Is it security? Is it accessibility? How do you think about the, challenges in this space?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think that for us, and again, I'll talk about this New York City experience because it's really, we're building it now. And so we see some of those physical space obstacles that we need to overcome in terms of accessibility, let's say, but from a technology standpoint, we want to make sure that our students have full access to all the resources that are available. So as part of course, their investment in their tuition, they get access, a full complement. The digital stack travels with them from Nashville right to New York City. So we've removed, certainly those obstacles. We will be outfitting these spaces on this campus to make sure that everyone has the advantage to participate at all levels with that. I will say, something that I wouldn't say is concerning for us, but we're addressing, is just how students become proficient with AI prompting. Is
sure.
really important. The ethical use of AI in their studies, but also how they'll apply that moving forward, and the proficiency that they'll have and the level of engagement that they can bring with it to the workplace is going to be really important for them.
So let's talk a little bit about AI, but also tell me a little bit about the partnership side of this, because
Sure.
tech is just everywhere. It's everywhere. It's everything, right? It's like oxygen.
Right.
It's hard to imagine, how to differentiate in any aspects of our lives,
Right.
especially education, I'm sure. It's also a space that feels convoluted at times. How do you pick partners for Vanderbilt, and what do you look for, in way of innovative thinking, etc., for the future?
Definitely. So for us, partnership is key. It's strategic and it's deliberate. We take a lot of time to really vet who we want to work with. One, what do they bring to us institutionally? How can we work together? So there's got to be mission alignment. We first and foremost want to provide exceptional opportunities for students. Second, we want to make sure that our faculty and our researchers have access to like path-breaking, scholarship and research, and can contribute to the environment. We also want to make sure that there's integrity in who we work with, that there's brand alignment, that there's brand enhancement for that as well. So you can imagine, like in New York City, we're partnering and exploring partnerships with a lot of arts organizations like the Whitney Museum, and in that partnership, we're looking at technology. What does AI? What implications does that have on art? And what we see, what we view, how we experience art in our life. In that partnership, we're looking at internships for students. We're looking at possibly joint hiring of faculty members, and we're looking for those who have a long established history,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, no,
that we
for
can
sure.
that we can work with.
And when you think about technology partners, I'm sure it's very important that you don't just buy for hype, that you buy for function, right? I think that must be a key part of the decision, knowing exactly what it is, what sorts of outputs technology can deliver,
Right.
especially in a market that feels like it's under cost pressure for sure.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about partners you choose in the tech space. I know you guys do a bit of work with Dell.
We do, and Dell's been actually a long partner for us in that tech space, whether it's delivering hardware from the beginning to the tech solutions that we're looking for today. They've been a partner not only in delivering that aspect of it, but also in some of the things we talked about earlier, internships for students, working with our faculty, really informing the work that we're doing to stand up this AI tech lab on our Nashville campus as well.
Wow. And you mentioned data at the beginning of this
Yes.
interview, right? It's such a powerful tool if it can be leveraged correctly. And I think across the board, whether you're a large-scale enterprise or a university, if you're on a huge budget or a shoestring budget, it seems to me as though getting value from the data and having clean, integral, usable data is certainly a challenge.
It's a challenge. It's also, as you know, managing that data and securing the data is really important for us as well. And I think you hit on that earlier with cybersecurity.
Yeah.
Being a big aspect of what we're focused on is secure data, but then also how we use data to program our campuses. So, again, one of the examples I'll use is as we think about sort of a smart campus here in New York City, we're confined to space. We only have so many classrooms, so many study spaces, residence hall rooms. How do you use data to see where students are moving around the campus? So ensuring that we can maximize the use of space. And
Absolutely.
that's data. Right? That's
Yeah.
how you use that data. And so that's just one example of the several ways that we're going to do that. Another way is we're looking at our partners at like New York City EDC, Economic Development Council, to help us maybe bring some of our centers of excellence from Nashville to New York. And one is a transportation, mobility, and AI lab that uses sensors that could be installed around the city to see how we can move freight and people around New York City more efficiently, become more sustainable. And unlike Nashville, which doesn't have the waterways that New York City has, then you think about how we can do that actually with the blue waterways as well. So it actually expands the way we're thinking about the use of data as well. So that's just one of those aspects that where we can bring faculty and research, and something that we've done extraordinarily well in Tennessee with New York, with Tennessee DOT. Our goal is to bring that here to New York.
And it's so interesting because I had never thought about the aspect of like safety and space, right, from a student perspective, even in terms of their, on-premise experience, right, and how you think about capacity.
Yes.
But it's interesting, but also how you think about their learning experience, like, and what it is, you're with them on this 4 or 5 year journey where they're learning a lot about themselves, their preferences, their choices. They're also in a very definitive era of their lives,
They are. And scary.
And it is. I mean, part of me would love to go back.
Right?
Well, I don't know what I love to go back right now, but I definitely had a great time in college.
Yeah.
But tell me, how do you think about that in terms of, really using technology and, thinking innovatively about how you make that whole student experience and the life cycle of learning, more effective?
Well, what's interesting today is that students will, regardless of the institution, move in and out of the education ecosystem their whole lives. And that's what we need to be set up for. And I know you talked about like the future and what we're thinking about the future of higher education. And so you have to think about those systems that they can come into. They're going to come back out. Maybe they graduate, they get that 4-year degree. Then they're going to come back in for their graduate degree or an advanced certificate or, lifelong learning, or they're doing something on, the other end. So the systems that we have to think about setting up for our students, or we do set up, I should say, for our students, is really is allowing them to move effortlessly through that system. And you think about bringing multi-campuses on for Vanderbilt, which is where we're going with this, is the same thing. A student needs to be able to touch down in West Palm Beach and know they can access all the same systems that they had in Nashville.
Yeah.
And from an efficiency standpoint, think about how we aggregate data, how they, register for classes, and we're making sure they're compliant with all of the systems that we have. All of that needs to feel seamless for them. Today, as you know, no one has the capacity to handle, like, what are you talking about?
The 15-second attention span
I don't even want to type my name in anymore. It better be cookies enabled. It better pre-populate things for me effortlessly.
And then doing that securely, right, is another important aspect of this, I'm sure.
It's key.
When you think about education, again, it seems as though there's a lot of speculation, a lot of doubt. If I think a lot about my own savings account from my children's university days, and I wonder what will life be like, 12, 13 years from now. But it seems as though also when people think about specialities and, really honing in on one specific skill set or space, there's a little bit of doubt in the air around how effective that will be as a strategy 10 years from now versus 10 years ago, right?
Right.
How do you think about that?
So, I think you bring up a really important point, and one that we've tackled from the beginning on affordability of higher education too. So we actually had this incredible campaign for Vanderbilt, actually our Dare to Grow campaign, that raised over $3.2 billion for the university. And a core pillar of that campaign was around access. So that families who are making under a certain income level, they attend the university for free. With no student loans.
Love that.
That's almost a third of our students are actually there, and they graduate debt-free, but having had opportunities and access that they may not have had otherwise. And then now we move into the immersion space. We want to make sure that the students, when they're there, not only can get through the front door, but then they can experience everything about the university. So we raise money to ensure that those students can go on that study abroad trip. They can come to New York City to do their semester in New York. They can participate in sports teams. They can do all the things that they want to do as part of that university experience. So for us, tackling the affordability and access is really critical, sort of addressing, the pocketbook issue of higher
100%.
education. But then you think about the long haul, and yes, on the short term, it's great that you can build a skill set and maybe a singular skill set. And those are things I can do from my laptop. I can take a class. But what we love is that engagement, right? It's really about being in the classroom. It's participating in that ecosystem that helps you build your networks and really
And the
builds like
softer
lifelong
skills,
success.
which are so important.
So important.
Connective tissue of life, right? Like, it's
Absolutely.
so important.
When you think about what we're going to do in New York specifically around internship students who take an internship during their undergraduate experience, they actually graduate with higher employability, they graduate with a higher starting wage, and they actually graduate also into positions where they're more fulfilled because they know the workplace. So for us, this is where the market is moving, and we want to contribute societally to also the workforce, pipeline here in New York City, the talent pipeline. And this is a great way to do that.
And tell me, in terms of the road ahead, and all of the exciting stuff that's going to happen here in New York for Vanderbilt, on the innovation side, as it relates to spend and planning and kind of strategic initiatives, what are you really, I guess, investing in? Because it seems as though there is, again, a big expectation that institutions can spend for 2030 on budgets that are almost like 2008, right? So
right.
How do you really kind of, differentiate in terms of what you need to truly invest in and where there is, I guess, room for, future gaps, I guess?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I wish we could all kind of look into the future and see exactly where we'll be, right, on that. But for us, it is so focused on that student experience. So what we're delivering today is really about what the workplace is asking for students, what students themselves are asking for. We see that in the market. They were moving to New York City. They're looking for industry-aligned internships. I'll run into graduates of Vanderbilt, 20, 30 years ago, and they'll say, oh, I wish I'd had an experience like this. It would have set me apart in such a different way in the workplace. Yes, I've been successful, but what you're doing today is innovative for the students. So as we think about that moving forward, universities really have to be that bridge between research, innovation, and also what's going on in workforce, what's going on in industry, and what's going on in the global economy. And I think we can be great translators in that space, and we can be great conveners of bringing folks together. Some of the greatest innovations come out of universities, as we know. Medical devices, med tech, vaccines. It's across the board.
Some fantastic incubators. We've actually had a lot of interesting folks even in here with us over the last few weeks that have just built phenomenal work in labs, right? With huge market valuations too, so you're so right.
And stay tuned, because we'll be announcing some of those things here in New York City.
We're excited.
We'll do that. And then in Nashville too, we actually are working on an innovation neighborhood. We have 40 acres that we're working on, this mixed-use incubator spaces, industry, residential spaces, really bringing the whole community together. It's not about being a center, which in my mind sort of is like an island. It's really about becoming a part of the fabric in Nashville, and it's about becoming part of the fabric here in New York.
Well, welcome to New York.
Appreciate it.
Look forward to hearing more about it and staying apprised of all these exciting developments for Vanderbilt.
Well, good. We look forward to coming back.
Thanks for coming on theCUBE. I'm Gemma Allen, here at our studio at the New York Stock Exchange. This is our AI Factories Week. Thanks so much for watching.